Hello, everyone. This is the teaser for this coming Sunday, which is February 7th. Um, it's snowing. It snowed outside. I think it's still supposed to have some more snow. So hopefully everyone is being safe. And if you have to travel for work or get out, that you're taking all the precautions, driving a little slower. I went out a little and got a nice little invigorating snow shoveling in. Not because I like snow shoveling, because I have a prima donna dog that will not go out unless the deck is cleared off and the steps are cleared off and a place for her to get on the sidewalk. And then she has no problem running around the snow. She just won't go down the steps. So I knew her bladder and bowels couldn't take much longer, so I got out there and got a shovel in, and she ran around, had some fun, took care of business, and ran back toward the door. So the Greyhound, as graceful as they are running the track, not so graceful going down steps. So, but she's asleep on the couch now. Yeah, I thought I would get ready for this week's message. The title of the message is Discipleship, which is really a real churchy word, and we're gonna be looking at Titus chapter 3 verses 3 through 8. Titus chapter 3 verses 3 through 8 is going to be the passage I'm going to read. But I'm actually going to talk about the whole book of Titus. Titus is only 3 chapters long. The whole book is about discipleship and church leadership. And, discipleship is definitely a key word in the churches of God. It's one of our main goals, mantras, the things that we strive to do. And most churches have discipleship in their focus or their goals also. And I always, I'm not sure what everybody thinks discipleship means. Again, when you have churchy words and not everyone may know what it means. I mean, to be a disciple, technically, is just to be a follower of Christ. Or a follower of anything, actually. If you follow something to the point where it's your goal, you're a disciple of that. So if you are a follower of Jesus, you're a disciple of Jesus. But I always used to think of discipleship as kind of raising up leaders. And, I realize that's not necessarily true. Basically, discipleship is trying to get people to grow in their spiritual journey, grow in their knowledge and wisdom. But as they grow, they should want to serve. I mean, that's part of what being a follower or a disciple of Jesus is, growing to the point of servanthood or servitude, where we want to serve more. And I can't help but think about my knowledge of church and churches, church councils, church leadership, and how churches always seem to be struggling to find enough people to actually want to serve on council. Usually they're just trying to fill seats because they don't have enough. And the book of Titus really talks about not having wrong people in leadership. It talks about what you should be looking for in a leader, and it's interesting. There's so many different things you see in church. And when I say churches, I'm not just talking Pembroke. I'm talking churches in general. I've been around a lot of different churches, and when you think of you got people who want to be on church leadership because they want the power, they want the control to kind of dictate where the church is going to go or where it's not going to go. They may want to be on there so they can make sure the church stays the same as it has been. Well, that's not really leadership. Leadership is to be following where Christ is calling the church, and those ministries where they should be going, and just gripping on to history or the past is not going anywhere. It's staying stagnant where it is. So you always have to watch out for people who are looking to be in leadership that way. There's people who are looking to be in leadership because they like to bully and tell people how to do things, and they like bossing people around. Well, obviously that's not leadership either. One of my struggles when I went into full-time ministry is I came from the business side of things, where I had managers and employees under me, and I could tell the managers and employees what was expected of them. And if they didn't do what was expected, you replaced them. You could fire and bring in new employees. It's hard to do that in church when everybody's volunteers. So that was probably my biggest learning thing when it's talking about trying to discipleship. I'm trying to disciple and realizing that, I can't fire volunteers. Things don't happen as quickly as they do in the business world when you have, people's payroll and paychecks as a reason for them to work harder or whatever. But really, what our challenge is, and every church's challenge is to find the people who are really wanting to serve because they want to reach people for Christ. They want to have an impact. They want to be positive and be decision makers. It's interesting. You can have a lot of people in church council and nobody will speak. Well, if you really want to serve and you really want to do what God is calling you to do, God's probably laying ideas on your heart. And and that's kind of what you need for the church to go forward. You just don't want a bunch of yes people. You don't want people who just sit there and have no ideas and just nod. You need people that are feeling led by Christ to make a difference. Again, difference makers. The biggest thing is, my mantra is, how do we make a big difference here in Pembroke? How do we make a difference in this church? I mean, I do understand when people talk about holding on to things, that we have two different style services, because I know there's people who like traditional. I know people who like contemporary. Church worship style or preference is not, the focus of discipleship. The focus of discipleship is help people grow in their knowledge of Christ, grow in their attitude, their servant mentality. So, yeah, you come and worship the style you want, but the direction of the church, or the direction that God's leading it, is to be reaching as many people in your local area. So we always have to figure out, as church leaders, this is the neighborhood of Pembroke or the borough of Pembroke. How do we reach these people? Not how we reached these people 50 years ago. Not how we reach people who live in Beverly Hills or Manhattan on the Upper East Side or anything. How do we reach the people in Pembroke? And if our direction and as a church and our focus as we're trying to raise up and make disciples isn't going to have an impact on the people in Pembroke, then we are becoming a little isolated island with a moat around us that's not in touch with those around us. So as we think about discipleship, as we think about Titus tells you what not to look for in leadership. Titus tells you what to look for in leaders. And mainly, as you see, as people grow in discipleship, their heart should be growing toward that of service. And I'm going to challenge the congregation, for those of you who are only going to be watching the videos. I challenge our congregation, how is God leading you to service? We have in our difference maker board, we have growth and service. Growth is helping us make disciples, where people continue to grow on the journey, and service is where they come out on the other end saying, okay, I've grown to the point where I want to serve. So that's the challenge. Read, again, Titus 3, verses 3 through 8. If you want to really get into it, read all 3 chapters of Titus. It won't take but 15, 20 minutes of your time. And for those who can get here, I hope to see you on Sunday. If not, the rest of you can check out the videos when we have it posted. Take care and be safe.